What's your obsession with Benny? Because I completely forgot about that guy. And now
You're a terrible person. That's all there is to it. You forgot about Benny? He just didn't deserve what happened.
justice for Benny.
I'm sadder. I was 1,000 times sadder about Benny than I was about fucking Barb.
Wow.
See you, Barb. Bring back Benny.
Some stories don't just stay with you, they change you. Welcome to Story Obsess, the podcast for anyone who's ever loved a story more than they can easily explain. I'm your host, Alyssa Much, and every episode I sit down with someone who is unapologetically obsessed with a specific story. It might be a TV show, book, movie, short story, a fan fiction, a play. It's just any narrative story that's stuck with them. We're going to talk about the story, we're going to talk about their obsession, and we'll answer our ritual question of who needs this story right now. Today's guest is Tyler Much. He's a warehouse manager based in Philly, an avid fantasy and sci-fi reader, a trading card expert, and most importantly, my beloved big brother. He's also the person that taught me that stories weren't just something you read or watched. They were worlds that you could disappear into, revisit, expand upon, and talk about for hours. Today, he's here to obsess over season 1 of Stranger Things. As always, there's spoilers ahead, so let's get into it. Hey, brother. How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
Good. Are you actually a warehouse manager? I don't really know what you do for work.
I'm technically the COO.
Oh, really?
But I basically manage a warehouse, yes.
Okay, cool. I'm like, he's a warehouse manager, and you're like, yeah, I mean, I have a C title, but that's
You
fine.
get it right.
That's hilarious. Well, I think before we dive in, we should talk a little bit about stories and our background, because for us, we're really into our stories. I remember growing up, Mom was always trying to ground you from reading books.
Not always, but yeah.
I remember it being a problem where you had like books hidden in your bed.
Yeah. I mean, she'd walk in, and since I was like 7 or 8, maybe, like she'd walk in the middle of the night and I'd be reading. Back then it was the Redwall books or whatever fantasy series I was obsessed with at the time. But, I'm 7 years old, it's 2 a.m, and I got the flashlight in my room, reading books and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. One of my favorite times is like taking the books out of the room. That's what she had to do. She always gets mad when we tell that story because she said it makes it sound like an awful mother, but it was.
I don't think so. I think that's amazing. I think if you have a kid, you can only hope that they want to like stay up all night reading, especially nowadays. Do you remember like the first stories that you were like really obsessed with? Like any come to mind?
It was the early 90s. It was the Goosebumps and Animorphs were huge, and I was really into those. Like I just said, like the first series I was truly obsessed with was the Redwall books written by Brian Jacques. It's funny like how that stuff affects your life, because like when Grandpa was fishing one time in Iowa, I remember as a kid like him telling me that he caught a pike, and I remember being like freaking out about it, because in this Redwall series, pikes are like, they're big bads. They're not like evil per se. They're just like animals that all the characters, good or evil, are scared of. In my head, this vicious huge fish or whatever, but in reality, they're not eating you while you're swimming.
Yeah.
I have an avid memory of like hearing that like a lake we swim in had pike and being scared as a kid, because I equated that to Redwall, where pikes are the size of megalodons to those animals or whatever.
Yeah, I think any like good story like does that too a little bit. You've always been really into like fantasy specifically too.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's get into Stranger Things season 1. And I think you and I are super similar in the sense that we love stories that are like world building. We're both avid readers, and I read anything. I think you read a lot of different genres, but mostly fantasy.
90% fantasy, 9% sci-fi, 1% anything else.
We like both really value world building and like to be like transported into the story. I think Stranger Things does, especially season 1, does this so well for like a world that is our own. I'm really excited to talk to you about this actually, because over the years you have said this multiple times. You have said that season 1 of Stranger Things is a perfect season of television.
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
There's very few things in this world I rate a 10 out of 10. Like maybe 3 different shows ever have had a 10 out of 10 season. Atmospherically, like perfect, right? It transported you back to that time. It also spoke to like the end of an era we experienced, maybe even me more than you, but like where kids were just roaming around doing things. Like, parents had no idea what was going on. Take your bikes out with your friends, be back before the streetlights came on type stuff, Vibe wise, like it just spoke to a part of me, I guess. That's what I'm saying. And then like, I'm also a big horror fan, and it was a very good was very accessible horror in that like people who I knew who don't like horror in general would watch it and not realize it was horror almost. They were scared or anxious or whatever. And I think that's really cool. And then like capturing the essence of the 70s. I think it was the D&D era, the OG fantasy era, really.
Hmm.
And to me there was a big thing was like there was nothing I didn't like. That's huge, right? Like
Yeah.
everything I watched, I could love something. I think it's a 9.9, but there's almost always something that I didn't like about it. And I just truly can say like season 1 there was nothing I didn't love. So,
Yeah, I went back and rewatched some episodes recently, and I feel like the editing, every moment, every cut, like every scene is there for like a good reason and like serves the
yeah.
story really well. But let's remind the folks. So for people who maybe haven't just rewatched season 1 of Stranger Things, or people who maybe have never watched it, in which case they really should, let's do a little challenge. I'll put a timer on for 60 seconds to make it fun. And in 60 seconds, go ahead and try to summarize what happens in season 1 of Stranger Things.
There's 4 kids. They are just they're playing D&D. It's like a metaphor for what's about to happen. There's a weird bald little girl. There's a cool guy named Benny who makes burgers. Government shows up, kills Benny, takes weird girl, or tries to take weird girl. She escapes, and then crazy stuff starts happening. There's a teenage love triangle. I don't like this pressure.
Will goes missing?
There's a super cool cigarette smoking cop, Winona Ryder, perfect human being. I would sell you to marry her. Will Byers gets taken by something. Oh shit, there's the upside down. What's the upside down? It's a scary place. Will's not dead. Fake body.
And that's time.
Jesus, that's 60 seconds went by fast. That is the plot of 1% of Stranger Things season 1.
I think you hit the main things. So Will goes missing in a very like mysterious fashion.
Yeah.
Little bald girl Elle shows up very mysteriously as well. Old-timey cop starts looking for Will.
Old timey cop. Badass Miami Vice Jim Hopper. Yeah.
Jim Hopper. So Jim Hopper is trying to find Will. He starts his investigation, and the kids decide to investigate on their own, which I think is just like the
Yeah.
best
Yeah.
trope. Like the kids, without the help of the adults, are like, we gotta solve this mystery.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Every like great story is built on like 4 kids deciding to like go fight a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there any moment or, like, specific scene you remember watching and it kind of, like, almost locking it in for you of, like, "Oh, this is so good."
I would honestly say right from the rip as a whole, for me, it was the D&D scene in the basement at the very beginning, leaving the friend's house. They're all riding bikes home, and then he gets taken, and I was in.
And I was curious, like, when you were first watching the show, were you, like, forming theories in your head? Like, did they end up kind of lining up with what you thought would happen in the future? What were you thinking when you were watching this? Or were you just taking it in of just like, "I accept the unknown of this
I
mystery?"
mean, you can't help but theorize a little bit. I'm one of those people where, like, if you show me a movie and you're excited because there's a twist ending, 80% of the time, I'll be like, "Ah, this guy's the bad guy." Like the vibes or whatever, like I am one of those people for sure. So I do try to not go too hard because I spoil stuff for myself sometimes. And not a conspiracy theorist per se, but I am very much a believer that like the government does stuff like stuff like that. So that was always my impression of it was like it's some experiment gone wrong. It's the government's like even when Will's dead and they find his body. I knew that it was the government doing experiments, that spilled over into a town.
Mhm.
It's hard nowadays, I think, for the government vibe to be horror, but they did felt like a horror villain in that show. It's kind of like the X-Files vibe. The government isn't just like men in suits. It's like it's a presence they have that's different than in a lot of stuff.
I was, like, thinking about, like, why is this show, like, so comforting even though it's, like, pretty scary and, like, a big mystery, and I think a lot of it's is there's, like, a clear good and evil in the show.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Hawkins Lab people, the Demogorgon, like, they're actually evil as you're especially in season 1, more
Yeah, yeah.
I think, with the less explanation, it's very, cut and dry who the good guys and the bad guys are, which I think is, like, very, like, comforting when you're watching a show like this.
I also like the way it's set up in that like You know, it's sure the kid, you know, they have the D&D and then Will disappears and you're like, it's like spooky or whatever. Yeah, but it's still like a show about kids, whatever. And then, you know, Elle shows up and she's goes to Benny's diner or whatever it's called, and the government shows up and they just shoot Benny in the head. Like
Yeah.
that really like that was, I guess that's another point of the show where if I wasn't already convinced I was gonna watch it, I was like, oh good, they're not holding back.
Yeah.
Too many shows, you know, they'll cut away or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it'll be
Mhm.
implied that Benny's dead just immediately, you know? It just really set the tone.
That's interesting. It's like the duality of like most shows, if there's the innocence of childhood, they shy away from the realities of like the situation of that like people would be getting murdered and stuff. If it's like an adult show about mystery, even if it involves kids, they kind of don't dive into the innocence of childhood. Like they kind of keep those things separate when storytelling, and Stranger Things really combines them of like you have
Yeah.
these innocent children, but then like very real consequences to what's happening.
And like without that scene, they lose their teeth for the rest of the show, right? Like when they're hunting the kids while they're riding their bikes away with Al in the back, realistically, like these people would kill 3 kids to protect their secret. It's very much like it has a supernatural horror element, but also like a human horror element that I like a lot.
Which character do you feel the most connection to, or which character did you like the best?
I mean, Hopper and Steve.
Really? Hopper?
Yeah, not even
That's
close.
so not the answer I expected you to say.
No.
Hopper is the guy?
I mean, okay, I guess this is the I maybe answered the question wrong because like, I don't think I'm the most like Hopper or Steve.
No, 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 but Hopper's, like, your favorite?
Oh, yeah, like, he's just the him and Steve are the best characters in season 1 of Stranger Things. It's not even close. Well, Benny's number 1, but he died, so, like,
Okay. Okay,
Hopper,
let me gotta touch on this more. What's your obsession with Benny? Because I completely forgot about that guy, and now
you're a terrible person. That's all there is to it. You forgot about Benny? Some weird little bald kid shows up, you feed her. He just didn't deserve what happened.
justice for Benny.
I was 1,000 times sadder about Benny than I was about fucking Barb.
Wow.
See you, Barb. Bring back Benny.
Okay, okay. So, outside of Benny, your favorite character is Hopper, or was in season 1 at least. What about him?
At first, you're like, God, this guy just kind of sucks. Your typical like local lazy sheriff, doesn't really give a shit about the people or whatever. Really, it's the thing that sets it apart is the memory of his daughter, right? He becomes obsessed with Will because he wasn't able to save his daughter. It just makes the entire character make sense, right? Because your most of your cops or whatever, at least in stories and stuff, they're gonna look for the kid, but they're not gonna put their being into finding the kid.
Oh, yeah, like, at one point, he punches the cop that's guarding.
Here, it was one of the government guys regarding the body.
Yes, of Will, and he goes and like, at that moment, he crosses the threshold of his professional job as a cop, and then he punches the security guard, he breaks the law, he takes a knife and cuts open the body of Will, quote, air quotes around that. That moment, you're right, he crossed the line from, "Oh, I'm, like, a sheriff doing my job," into, like, "I have to do this."
Yeah, yeah,
Because, like, it's somehow connected to my purpose, or the meaning that I prescribe to the grief of the loss of my daughter, whatever it is, like, it's personal at that point,
yeah,
and he's willing to sacrifice his career to solve it.
yeah, and I mean, like, you might have just made me realize another reason I like him so much is, like, I've had that issue with my life, you know, depression and stuff, and, like, for me, it's not, like, feeling sad, it's, like, you turn off everything, you're just, like, you're apathetic about everything, it doesn't matter what's going on, if your life sucks, if your life's good, you're just, like, you're stuck, and then you find something to grab onto, and it gives you purpose or whatever.
I think you find your purpose by, like, thinking about someone other than yourself, you can't sit there in your own head and think about it too hard 'cause you're never gonna get out of it then.
Yeah.
You also said Steve. Let's talk about Steve because he's also my favorite character. I love Steve.
Steve is in my top 3, like, redemption characters of all time.
Steve's redemption scene, that scene when he comes back to help Nancy and Jonathan,
Yeah.
that might be my favorite. I don't know, it's hard. It's in my top 3 favorite scenes from season 1 because his redemption, unlike, like, I don't know, you look at, like, Jamie Lannister, right? Jamie Lannister is this slow burn redemption. There's just little moments that keep building, but there was all these little things leading up to it where you slowly started to be like, "Oh, I hate him a little less now. I hate him a little less now. He's still an asshole, but I hate him a little less now." Steve, it was like, it's in one scene. In one scene, you completely love him.
Also, side note, like, Steve being a jock to me is so funny because, like, he looks like a friggin' cross country runner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would have bodied Steve.
I could have taken Steve for sure.
He looked like he's 118 pounds.
Yeah.
I'd have packed him up in a little box in high school.
Put him in my purse.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, I think his redemption though happens all at once. I guess the reason I love it is because it conflicts with what I think a redemption should be. I think of redemption in Jamie Lannister terms. Character changes, the person's growing, and you watch it, and then you slowly realize that they're better, and then they have their big moment where they essentially come out as a good person. You know what I mean? And they do
Yeah.
the redeeming act. Steve, it's more like, yeah, he's like a little shithead, whatever, you kinda write him off. Like, he's just like, "Oh, like, Nancy's not
Yeah,
gonna end up
yeah.
with him," like, whatever, like, he's not a main character here. And then in that scene, he comes back, and yeah, I don't know what it is about it. I just think you have, like, the 4 boys in L who are so loyal to one another, and they're willing to die for each other because they love each other so much in the way that kids are because they don't have a fear of death the same way adults do, right?
Yep.
He doesn't come back out of to help them out of loyalty. I don't think he comes back out of love for Nancy. I don't think he comes back because he feels bad for Jonathan. Like, I think in that moment he decided what kind of man he wanted to be. You know what I mean? Like he's walking away, he sees the lights flickering in the house. He's running away from the scene. Like he
Yeah.
saw the Demogorgon, he
Yep.
saw the danger there, and he sees like peace. Bye, I'm out. He's running to his car, and then he sees the lights flickering, and there's like a moment where the camera like pans in on his face, and then it cuts, and so he knows the danger they're up against, and he could get in his car and he could drive away. He doesn't love Nancy. Like, I'm not saying he doesn't like her, he doesn't care about her, but he's not in love with her. But in that moment, I think he decided the person he wants to be. He's like, "Am I the
Yeah.
man that runs away from the monster, or am I the man who runs in and fights?" And I think he chose to go fight.
I'm of the mind that, at least, teenage Tyler, I imagine, would do the same thing. It's very succinct what good and what evil is. I was a kid who read a lot of fantasy and stuff, so, I might even had a stronger sense of that than some
Mhm.
people, but I think as an adult, yeah, it would be different for sure. I don't know that, a lot of adults go back in. You like to think that you'd be Steve Harrington, you'd go back in with a bat, just beat the shit out of the Demogorgon.
I think as an adult, like, again, that fear of death, it's different when you're an
Yeah.
adult and there's, like, you've dealt with consequences or you've lost someone, you know what I mean? And I think there's a finality to it, whereas when you're a kid, you don't have that same sense of fear.
Especially as a kid who was really into fantasy, you know what I mean? I could have been convinced that I could have walked into a room of 12 guys with guns and used my sword to defeat them all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm the good guy here, right? If they're the
Yeah.
bad guys and I'm the good guy, then somehow it'll all pan out.
Are you team Steve or team Jonathan for Nancy?
I'm Steve Nancy, and she shouldn't be with either one of them. They both kind of suck in their own ways.
Okay, what about in season 1, though?
I guess if I had to pick, it would have been Steve because, like I said, I like him, his character so much. Was never a huge fan of Jonathan in general.
I agree. I think, if I had to, like, stack rank the characters, Jonathan would probably be like, from season 1, not all the
Yeah,
characters,
yeah.
but season 1, like, the core cast, I think he comes last in my mind.
Yeah. No, I'm just not. You know what? That might be to me, the one negative thing about season one is I think that if they chose someone different or they had him act different, then maybe he's a fantastic character.
You know what, I'm gonna defend it a little. He is definitely stack ranking, definitely the one I care about the least. But what I will say is, I think it was more intentional than maybe you're thinking it was. I think he is supposed to, like when you grow up and there's like that weird kid in high school, you know what I mean? And like to be clear, I was never a bully. I was always like one of the nerdier kids, or I was always hanging out with either the stoners or like the video club or whoever. So I'm not some mean girl that's like, oh, the weird kid. But there was always a kid that would like say weird things to you, or
Yeah, he was being
like you would try to be nice to them because you're like, "Oh, I wanna be nice to the kid who's alone," and then you would, like, bring them into a conversation and, like, immediately regret it. I think Jonathan's supposed to kinda be the weird kid.
my disagreement with that is that I think a lot of times the weird kid decides to be weird at a certain
Yes.
point, right?
Yeah, he needed to be either, like, the true weird isolated kid or not, and I think they made the weird isolated kid, they were trying to make him too likable, and I
Yeah.
think it's hard to like that character, and so I think they were trying to find that balance of, like, "Oh, Jonathan, he's, like, misunderstood, he's the weird kid, but, like, he's still gotta be likable," and I think those 2 things don't go together.
Yeah. I think I would have liked the show better if Eddie was Will's older brother.
I obviously wanted Nancy to be with Steve. He knows who he is. He knows what's his like little persona that he puts on as the popular kid, and then he knows who he really is. And like to me is like a sign of a good potential partner. Like with Nancy, I'm like, she should be with someone who knows who he is, knows what he wants, knows what he's doing here. I think Jonathan's just like too lost, you know?
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
she's gonna have to like baby him the whole relationship.
yeah. The only acceptable outcomes to me are two. It's Nancy says, "I'm going off to college," or I guess maybe she dies at the end.
What what is it? You've touched on this a few times now. What is it about killing a main character that you think gives the show more like credibility?
Well, just like every like we grew up in an era where like it was nothing but good endings, and then in like the early 2010s, shows started killing off main characters, and it raises the stakes on everything that happens in the entire show. Period.
Yeah.
If one of the characters you love, one of the people you cared about, can die at any time, it puts you on edge. You killed off Barb, right? Which was enough of a Benny,
Mhm.
Barb, random people here or there.
Benny. Justice for Benny.
I'll I'll die on this hill. I don't care about Barb. Justice for Benny. Season 2, Justice for Bob, right?
Justice for
Like, but
Bob.
again, that's a cop out. They killed Barb. They killed Bob. They killed Eddie.
What's with the bees? They don't like people with bee names. Barb, Benny, Bob.
They do kill B names.
My controversial opinion on this is that this should have been a one season show and 11 should have actually died at the end.
Yeah, I
I think
mean,
that scene where 11 disappears with the Demogorgon and you still don't know like everything, it's still a big mystery kind of where it came from or who Elle even is.
they should. I think the way they ended it was perfect. It would have been a perfect way to end the show entirely. I think him leaving a box of Agos in the thing,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
and then Will Byers puking up some slugs, and then leave it.
Yeah, people would have speculated forever. For the rest of time, people would have speculated on that show.
If I was to write a show like that, it would end ambiguously in that like the way season 1 ended. You could have 10 different opinions on how it ends and they all match the story, and so like each person can individually believe. Like there's a this thing where like I'm a big fan, not as big a fan as I used to be, but like I'm still a fan of horror, but like mostly monster horror. And there's this constant battle in me anytime I watch a monster horror movie where like, hey, if you show the monster too early, that's a that's a terrible thing to do because it's always better in your head. But I'm also such a fan of monsters in general. I want to see the monster. There's always this thing where if a show ends and you never really see the monster, I'm fucking pissed because I wanted to see the monster. But if at the end you show the monster and the monster kind of sucks, I'm even more pissed.
Yeah. As someone who's a big fan of monsters, like, where does the Demogorgon rank for you in terms of, like, good monster, bad monster?
I mean, at the end of season 1, it's in the top 10, 15.
Yeah, I think it's a great monster. I love the, like
Even the Mind Flayer in season 2, was a good monster.
Mind Flayer's fine, but to me, the Demogorgons it's the perfect
Yeah,
monster
yeah.
because it's the perfect size and scope of a monster. You can fight it, but it's still super freaky
Yeah, yeah.
strong, you don't know exactly what it is.
And they did this like in the second one, like they did like the Demogorgon was still very relevant or whatever, but like by season 3 and 4, like you didn't even care. Like I said,
Yeah.
like Hopper can fist fight like Demogorgon and see like it's and that's
Yeah,
stupid.
it's so
Like,
silly. Yeah.
but the first one it was a perfect monster. Right? Like I said, like Demogorgon season 1 is one of my favorite monsters for sure.
Yeah, I wanted to chat with you about that too because I think Stranger Things does nostalgia really before nostalgia was, like, cool, I guess, so to speak. Like, nowadays, we're all like, "Oh, like, the show's so nostalgic," or "It brings you back to, like, a simpler time," or "When tech was less," or all these different things, but I think Stranger Things does it in a very authentic way, where it just feels like you are in that time and place. It doesn't feel like they're trying to, like, romanticize the '80s, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's a leftover of the '70s, like, the way they
Yeah.
dress, like, it's not even fully like, "Oh, this is '80s, like, look at this." It's just
Yeah, and it's the sleepy town. I think that even like in the later seasons, which I wasn't a big a fan of. Season 3 is kind of shit on by people, but they did the early 80s or late 70s, whatever, like mall vibe, 4th of July vibe, like fantastic. Like as a whole,
yeah.
the setting and the design and the entire vibe through the season is consistent.
I was thinking about this the other day when I was rewatching an episode. So they get into this like conflict with the bullies. The bully has Dustin and Mike goes to jump off the cliff and then 11 comes to save them and 11 snaps the bully's arm.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking this and I was like, I don't know if we're so nostalgic just for like a simpler time. I think we're nostalgic for when we used to actually have a sense of danger. Like as
Yeah.
kids, like when you would go in the
Oh, I mean,
woods and
that's
you were unsupervised, you get in fights with people, like
you couldn't do that show and have it be set in the 2010s. Like, the quarry would be fenced off, some kid in the 90s fell off the edge. Like, I grew up just walking into the woods, walking past no trespassing signs. You did whatever you wanted. Like, it didn't matter. Like, it didn't it wasn't kids got hurt, kids died doing stuff. I mean, that's just the truth of it. It was a freer time for sure. And, like, now it's unrealistic, but back then that was a thing. Like, even up till the 90s, it was really the cell phone becoming so widely available that put an end to
mhm.
that. But like, all the time, well, my mom would be like, "Just get out of the house. You're annoying me," or whatever. And I would just walk into the woods. I would just walk in the woods.
We didn't even talk about Dustin yet. We gotta talk about Dustin. Dustin to me is the purest character in the show. Like the whole show you have Mike is like clearly like into 11 and he's like, I want to protect 11. Lucas is like, dude, like where the hell is Will? And Dustin is that perfect friend that's just like, hey guys, like we can make this work. Let's all work together. We can have it all.
Yeah.
I think he's an eternal optimist.
Yep. As far as season one goes, and like the child innocence and stuff, like, he's perfect. He's definitely one of the best characters in the show.
And kids cursing when they have like a lisp or something just makes me so happy.
It's ironic.
They say, like, bastard, like, all the time in the
Yeah.
show, and it's so good.
For you listeners out there, Alyssa had a terrible lisp for most of her life.
Not most of my life, that's
Most
a
of her
little
life.
dramatic.
Right now, she's faking and not having a lisp.
Did not for the most of my life.
I
I
was
had a I
Tylo.
had a
I
s
was Tylo for a solid 16 years of her life.
not 60. I got out of speech therapy when I was, like, 12, for the record. Honestly, I love it, I love it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think the one thing you missed out on, not watching the final season of Stranger Things, Tyler, is conformity gate. I can't even begin to explain to you how much conformity gate means to me in my heart and soul at this point, because it shows that people are still obsessed with stories the way that I am. Stranger Things, the final season, I'm not gonna tell anything really in case you ever do decide you wanna watch it, but it wasn't great, right? And there's a lot of, like, weird plot holes. There's a lot of things that just don't make sense. There's a lot of things in the final season that actually directly conflict with things that have been explicitly, like, stated to be truths in the show. And someone on the internet, I don't know, I would have to look up the original, like, person who posted about this, but there was, like, a viral video of this person pointing out certain things that directly conflicted, and in each scene, there was, like, a hint. Like the meme from It's Always Sunny with, like, the red
Yeah,
lines
yeah,
on the
yeah.
board? Like, they did one of those, but in video form, and the internet went with it. So we thought there was gonna be a surprise ninth episode on January 7th. Netflix went down on January 7th from people logging in to see the missing episode of Stranger Things. Like, that's how hard we convinced ourselves, and it was so good, and it made this end, like, the last season worth it to me in this, like, amazing way, and I'm sad that you missed out on that because the diehard Stranger Things fans, like, came through for
Yeah.
Conformity Gate, and they, like, rewrote the whole story, how it's actually gonna end, like, what all the signs mean, and I love it, and I think that's what stories do to you. I think when a story is really good, I don't know, it lives in you, and you think about it, and you marinate in it, and you build your own little world and your own
Yeah.
reality, and
I vaguely recalled reading something about that on Reddit, yeah.
well, Tyler, as
Mm.
we wrap up, I always like to ask my ritual question of who needs this story right now? So who do you think needs Stranger Things season 1?
Any budding child, I think. I think it's a show that, like, if you're a fantasy, if you're a kid who, like, enjoys fantasy, I think it's a perfect show for the season 1 for anybody from 11 to 14 with any kind of imagination. It's just something that you could put yourself in, and it feels very real and grounded, something that could happen in real life.
Along the same lines, I would say anyone who's going through any sort of like emotional hard time right now, like whether it's grief or whether it's a breakup or whether it's just, I don't know, you're feeling lost, it is a world that you can disappear into. I think you will become obsessed with it, and for a little while, you're not gonna be thinking about whatever is going on in real life because you're gonna be too excited to talk about Stranger Things.
Yeah. Or if you're a person who doesn't mess with fantasy or sci-fi, yeah, I just think it's a good introduction to that whole genre.
No, I agree, because I would say actually, that's a really good point. Because I don't think I was super I think I'm more into the fantasy genre, and I'm more open-minded to, like, reading fantasy books or sci-fi books because of Stranger Things, so I agree with that. I think prior to Stranger Things, I wasn't really as
Yeah,
open-minded.
I remember when you 3 episodes into Game of Thrones, talking to me about it, and I was flabbergasted that you not flabbergasted, but, like, I mean, it would like, at reading the books, there wasn't a book I'd ever recommended to you thinking that you would love it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think Stranger Things falls in that same category. It's like anybody can love it.
Well, thank you again, Tyler, my brother, for coming on and getting obsessed with Stranger Things season 1 with me. I think the one thing I take away from this is justice for Benny because I'm gonna get t-shirts made, we're gonna get bumper stickers because more people need to be on this train with us.
And Bob the
And
Brain.
Bob. Justice for Benny, justice for Bob. But if this episode meant something to you as the listener, or if it made you think a little differently about stories you love, please share it with someone or leave us a review. I'm Alyssa Much. This is Story Obsessed, and maybe there's a story you've been meaning to come back to.